Dr. Marissa Garrett had spent her entire adult life working as a trauma surgeon at a regional hospital in the Midwest, in a town where everyone knew everyone. At 40, she was secure in her humility, respected by the medical staff, adored by patients, even though her husband, Dr. Jonathan Garrett, served as chief of surgery. She never leaned on his position. She walked her own path, rigorous shifts in the emergency room, volunteering for ambulance runs, staying late to attend to every fracture, bleed, or broken spirit. Integrity meant more to her than comfort. She earned every accolade on her own merits. While sipping weak hospital coffee one evening, she talked with nurse Julia Martin, a young woman just starting out. Julia was ambitious, sharp, and openly confessed her plan: she intended to marry a wealthy man. Not for love, she would clarify later, but for security and status. Marissa listened, quietly unsettled by Julia's candid pragmatism. She had believed in love that built families and community, not alliances driven by financial advantage. Yet she recognized that Julia's desire stemmed from fear, not opportunism, and she resolved to treat her with compassion rather than contempt. The next morning, Marissa answered a dispatch, a multi-car collision north of town. Racing to the scene in the ambulance, she remembered how she had stepped in last minute. Jonathan had called in sick, and she volunteered without a second thought. She stiffened behind the wheel when she saw the wreckage: 2 cars mangled, smoke rising, twisted steel and shattered glass. Heart pounding, she grabbed her flashlight and medical bag and sprinted into the chaos. Within minutes she found the driver of one car, a young man who insisted he was okay. From across the wreck she recognized him and froze. It was her son, Alex Garrett, fresh-faced and gaunt with anxiety. Her breath caught, her eyes blurred. She rushed forward, heart thudding. She scanned his license and registration. The name belonged to his twin brother, Ethan Garrett. He tried to explain: "Mom, it's okay. I was driving only a short distance. I borrowed Ethan's license. I didn't want to get pulled over. I was just going to grab coffee." Marissa's hands trembled on the clipboard. A confession of innocence, but a lie. Alex was colorblind and had failed the eye exam previously. Ethan had passed. For weeks Alex had used the duplicate license. He was terrified of discovery, knowing the consequences. Behind her, the younger residents listened in horror. Marissa took a step back, steadying herself. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered. Alex's head dropped, ashamed. Ethan appeared too, hesitant, guilt-ridden. When she turned to him, his face was pale. "No," Ethan gasped. We were going to tell you. We just didn't. We thought we could handle it ourselves." Marissa closed her eyes sharply. She had taught them honesty above all. This betrayal stung deeper than the accident. The twins fled to separate corners of the scene. Marissa took over medical care, but fury and disappointment roasted through her veins hotter than any adrenaline. Over the next day, police files and hospital reports confirmed the worst: the twins had concealed identity fraud. The cost of the accident: insurance complications, license violation. They may face legal consequences. Jonathan called her later, voice measured. He told her to stay calm for the kids. Even as chief of surgery, he couldn't ignore the law. They would get through this, he promised. But Marissa hung up and collapsed into the kitchen chair, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. She felt older than her 40 years, her belief in straightforward good-natured honesty crumbling in the wake of her son's secret. The crisis multiplied. The next afternoon she discovered money missing from her personal account, funds she had set aside for Ethan's college tuition. The bank statement showed a withdrawal in cash days earlier. She demanded answers at home. Both boys looked guilty. In her mind she saw them whispering, dialing phone numbers when she was asleep. Her worst suspicion crystallized when she found texts between Julia Martin and Ethan requesting loans, promises repaid after everything blew over. Julia's ambition, Nurse Martin's plan, seemed to involve manipulating the twin brothers by promising wealth, companionship, or even connection if they cooperated. Marissa confronted Ethan first, leaving Alex to hang back. Ethan's voice cracked. Julia wanted more. I thought I could help with her bills, pay her back later. I told Alex. He went along. Alex shook his head, tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, Mom. But that wasn't nearly enough. She arranged a meeting in her home, cooling down before confronting Julia. When Julia arrived, polite but confident in her high-end coat and manicured hands, Marissa's voice was steady but firm. You asked my sons for money, she said. Julia's face turned pale but composed. I asked them for help because I lost my apartment deposit, my sister gave birth early, and I didn't know where to turn, Julia offered. I'm sorry I didn't go through proper channels. I panicked. She paused. But I never wanted to break your family. Marissa didn't cry. She didn't scream. She simply said, trust is fragile. You shattered it. Months passed in awkward silence, hearings, community service, and restitution payments. Family dinners were strained. Jonathan supported both sons quietly but insisted they face consequences. He asked police friends to minimize penalties, but not immunity. That's the system, accountability weighs heavier than comfort. Marissa returned to surgical duty with a hollow ache. She patched fractures and stitched tears, treating strangers with more clarity than she extended to her own sons. She wondered constantly, had she raised them too softly? Had she assumed honesty came naturally? Virtue not enforced vanished. One night, late in the trauma ward, Julia showed up after her shift, unexpectedly, apologetic. Marissa listened as Julia talked about her childhood, broken home, father who gambled away everything, mother who left. I calculated my life as risk, Julia confessed. I thought money would shield me from pain. But I see now how wrong I was. Marissa nodded, bruised but open. She reached out and placed her hand over Julia's on the desk. You're not beyond redemption, she said. But you must earn trust, step by step. Julia began working overtime, taking extra shifts, volunteering for underserved clinics. She focused on her nursing studies rather than wedding dreams. She paid back every dollar she had taken, quietly hoping her sincerity would heal what she'd broken. Meanwhile, the twins, Ethan and Alex, attended counseling for young offenders, but also joined volunteer work at the hospital. Ethan helped in administrative filing. Alex helped in the ER, but under supervision. Together, they participated in community talks about honesty and responsibility to youth groups. Slowly, trust began to rebuild. Marissa noticed changes, a sincere apology in Ethan's tone, Alex's steadier gaze. Nothing erased the past incident, but accountability carved space for healing. One evening at home, Marissa found them together in the kitchen, laughing quietly over old childhood stories as they scrubbed dishes. Jonathan glanced toward her, a soft smile flickering. It felt like a small miracle. Repair began in that ordinary moment. Marissa realized faith in her family wasn't blind faith, it was a daily practice. Belief in goodness didn't mean ignoring mistakes, but committing to honesty, accountability, love. She still woke some nights haunted by guilt or longing for simpler times. But she held on to one truth: children could err, betray, even break trust. Yet families built on forgiveness, integrity, and service could endure and sometimes grow stronger in the ashes. She watched Julia finish her shift, walking out into the morning sun with confident steps, not because she had money or influence, but because she was learning how to live with honor. She watched her sons graduate community service and counseling hours. She watched the hospital's trauma department in the Midwest continue to heal bones and hearts, including her own. In the end, she understood, when children's mistakes shatter families, the hardest choices are not giving up, nor demanding perfect repentance. The hardest choice is holding space for trust to be rebuilt, step by step, and refusing to lose faith in the possibility of redemption. And that faith, like love, was worth fighting for.